may or may not be one of the buildings from the railroad. I'm kind of suspicious it isn't, as we're a good piece from the rail bed and not level with it. We're down quite a bit. That's snow. It's actually snowing. And here we are at the bottom of the bridge. Bissett Creek flowing down into the river of Ottawa. Beautiful Bissett Creek. Try not to drop my camera. Going into the Ottawa River. Ooh. I'm always nervous with these things. Even though the wood looks perfectly fine. So I was told when I was young, this was one of the few places in the world where you can cross with all modes of transportation. Aircraft overhead, Trans-Canada Highway, rail, and boat. Alright, so right over there was Bissett Creek Station. And this is the bridge over Bissett Creek. There it is right there, point B. I'm going to try to make it to the next station, Gratan. I don't think there's any way I'm going to make it. It's like 5:30, almost 6 o'clock already, and that's at least an hour-long hike. It's back there. Same with Aylen. Aylen's like a 5-mile hike if I come in through de Riviere, and that's almost 5 miles between Gratan and Aylen. So I think I'm not gonna be able to do it today, but I'll hike a bit, see how far I get. So one of the guys in the Abandoned Rails Facebook page sent me this timetable number 70 from 1931, and you can see it. And here we are, North Bay Subdivision, Adelaide, Bissett, Gratan, Aylen, de Riviere, Hodgson. So 3.8 miles between Bissett and Gratan, and I'm not quite a mile closer to Gratan, so still a good 3 miles. And of course, can't go for a hike down the rail bed without a nod to the Trans-Canada Pipeline. This was built when I was in my early teens. Okay, I have to admit I'm a little disappointed. Still some pretty nice stonework, but one of the nice things about this rail line was it was built in the 1800s. They usually had real nice cut limestone culverts that were all works of art. This one's just boring old poured concrete. 1923 though. That's pretty cool. So this part of the line, I'm trying to remember, I think it was 1881. So here's the power lines. These must be coming from the Ralston. Oh, I think this is that one stray line that comes off the Ralston power dam. Anyway, this is a good little grade here. This stretch, I think it was built in 1881. I don't know what the grade here is. I don't have a track profile, but a little trick I picked up in engineer training. Take a look out your side window, and then you can tell which way is uphill. I don't know how well that shows up on camera, but if I take a look at the left and level my view, and if I pan to the right, I can immediately tell that this is going uphill. Pretty good little grade. I mean, this is a big little Canadian Shield hill. It's a pretty decent one too. I'm going to guess probably 0.7% grade, quick guess. I knew it was a hill here, and I think it goes uphill all the way to Aylen, so it's like 8 miles or something. It kind of reminds me of the hill from Robinson to Wycliffe on the Allen Water sub. Long uphill. Rats! I forgot my Geiger counter. All these beautiful rock cuts through Canadian Shield rocks up in Sioux Lookout, Armstrong Run. Well, that whole area was like the gold capital of Canada. So a huge find there in the Canadian Shield rocks was gold. Here, we're a lot closer to Bancroft and whatnot. We're one of the uranium capitals of Canada in this area. So there's probably decent uranium deposits and whatnot. And right over that hill right there, they were trying to open a graphite mine. So there's a big to-do about that mine, which never did open. Yay, mile 39. I think there's a mile board missing, because I'm pretty sure I've gone more than a mile. But we're only at this corner where it turns to the left. So that red line is the rail bed where it takes a left. Right there is where I am. So I'm not even halfway to Gratan yet. I gotta take a look at the clock. Considering it was late 1800s when they built this line, I mean, some pretty impressive engineering. Now, this is a major backfill. That's probably, I'll bet you that's pushing 40 feet of rock that they've blasted and backfilled into here for this sort of causeway through the valley. And it's, wow, it's even more there. Actually, you can see a bit of a step there. So that may have been the original rail bed that they laid on top of. I mean, that's down to the valley floor there. That's, easy 60, 70 feet. That's a long way down there. I tell you, impressive engineering. Yeah, back in the old rail lines I was running, we used to have one engineer that was always speeding. Constantly like, dude, you're speeding. He's like, nah, I'm just getting a run up at that big hill coming up. Oh, you mean the big hill that's 20 miles away? Somehow I don't think manager's gonna accept that story. I don't know how much you can see this on camera, but again, this is like that's a straight down vertical cliff of like 50 feet that they've basically backfilled. So they backfilled right across a cliff. Continuing on. Neat stuff like this. I don't know what this is, but it's obviously a rock cut. So I don't know if this is the original rail bed, and because there's the rail bed that was just abandoned beside it. So we're, I don't know, 30, 40 feet to the south side. But it looks like it just ends there. I don't know, maybe there was a bridge there. Might have been, actually. You know that? Because with that steep cliff, I wouldn't doubt if they had originally had a trestle in here. I don't see any remains of what could have been a trestle. See a lot of railroad ties. Do know that in a lot of these rail lines, when they first built them, basically they would build a very, how can I put it? They would build a trestle across gaps like this, but it would be very skimpy. It would not be up to par in terms of load bearing. It would have just the bare minimum of logs to get the tracks across the chasm, and then they would backfill right on top of the trestle, and that's how they got the line up and running, and that's also how they dumped the rock into the chasm, bring it across the bridge and dump it. and backfill the entire chasm. Rail bed, pretty canyon. With nice ice waterfalls and free flowing waterfalls. It's pretty back here. Even a nice little cave down there. All right, so this is a, don't know how well this shows up on camera, but this is an obvious borrow pit. Basically, they borrow rock and dirt from these pits. You see them on the highways, around the highways all the time, especially the interstates. And they take dirt and rock from there and then use that to use it for backfill on the highways or the rail bed. Had an argument with a professor, a friend of mine though, because why do they call them borrow pits if they never intend to put it back? Can't see what that is. That's a duck or a loon? I think it's a loon, but I'm not sure. Maybe I'll see later on. I tell you, sure is purty here. Pretty sure I'm right here, so about the halfway mark to Gratan. I have to take a look at the time here. I think it's pushing 6 o'clock, and I'm gonna have to turn around and hike back and just give up, I guess. Come back another day. Because see, unfortunately, all these mileages are off because of the Mackay bypass. This is 1931. This is before the 1948 bypass up at Mackay, which I believe reduced a couple of miles. Yeah, it's 10 after 6. I'm gonna have to concede defeat. Come back another day. Maybe I'll bring my nieces with me, and we'll come back and try this again. Some pretty impressive hills here, eh? This is the big hill between Bissett and Deux Rivières, which is even on the highway. It's a pretty impressive hill, and these guys took the back route. I don't even know how they would survey and decide where to run the trains and where to run the rail beds. It's a pretty impressive engineering. All right, turning around now. I went a little bit further. I believe I'm at that lake right there. It's pretty. And we'll come back and try again at a later date. Maybe make a big hike. Go all the way to Aylen. 8 miles. That's a good hike. Okay, so I don't know how much you're going to be able to see. Oh boy, it's hard to show. But this is that, what is obviously an old rail bed coming up to that rock cut I showed you previously. So I guess that was the original 1800s line, and they moved the rail bed over for whatever reason. But I'm assuming they had a trestle across that little canyon, I guess. Fairly fresh animal scat, but right now, springtime, bears are just coming out of hibernation. They're hungry and grumpy, so that's why this time of year you do some anti-bear measures like wearing bells and carrying pepper spray. So I know this isn't bear scat because it doesn't have bells and it doesn't smell like pepper. The other side of that canyon, so that lower level I showed earlier, down that steep embankment, so there's what was the current rail bed. So I guess they cut the corner And that lower level was actually, I don't know, banked up, I guess, for the foundation of the trestle. Because there's what was obviously the original rail bed meeting with the newer rail bed over here. So they just basically cut the corner with it. I'm assuming this was where one of the telegraph poles was, and they just built up rock foundation circle around it, as was often done in this incredibly difficult hard rock Canadian shield temple. Here's one that was cut down, and this is way too close to where the other one was. It had 40 poles per mile. Used to be able to count it. They were very specific about it. Here's another rock formation. Wonder what on earth they were doing. It's I mean, clearly they've been stacked up in circular piles. Whoops, sorry. I'll zoom out. Interesting. And there's another pole foundation over there. Ooh, free helmet. Just down here in the ditch. Doesn't look in the greatest of shape, actually. It's not in bad shape at all. I thought those were brakes, but this just stickers are peeled off. Woohoo! Free helmet. 6:55. It's not bad. 45 minutes hike back.